Hello everyone, and welcome to another live from the workshop. Now, there are several accounts of what happens to Davros after Remembrance of the Daleks. There is John Peel's novel War of the Daleks, which states that he was killed by matter dispersal, although there is some hints in the novel that he may have been transmattered rather than dispersed. The most recent is the 2013 audio series Daleks Among Us, which is basically a direct continuation of Remembrance of the Daleks, at the end of which Davros escapes once again in a Dalek time machine. However, one of the other versions is the audio story Terror Firma. Now, I will say this right from the off, I'm not a fan of this story, and I find it hard to fit into the canon. To give you a quick rundown, spoiler alert, there is, in the audio series, in the audio story, essentially it takes place after Remembrance of the Daleks, and it features a sort of mental conflict between Davros's own personality and that of the Emperor, or the Emperor Dalek that he was trying to be. It can be a little bit confusing, but essentially it ends with the Emperor Dalek personality having completely taken over. So personally, this isn't one I subscribe to. If I subscribe to any, I subscribe to the Daleks Amongst Us audio, because it fits into the general sort of Dalek, the Davros canon, as it were. However, the Terra Firma series features an updated version of Davros's Remembrance casing that has similarities to the Evil of the Daleks Emperor. So that is what I'm going to try to recreate today. As I said, I'm not a fan of the story, but I am certainly a fan of this design. So essentially, what I'm actually going to use for this is my movie Emperor. Unfortunately, it did come to pieces, but as is the way with often these things, I can use the pieces to create something more. So I'm using an old Imperial base, which was from one of my many special weapons Daleks that I used at some point to paint. I think this was originally for my special weapons Dalek of my audio series, but as you can see, obviously I've taken that apart. So I've got that, and then the body from my movie Emperor. First things first is going to be to paint these up white, so let's start with that. And here is my finished Terror Firma Emperor. So, as usual, as I always say, very pleased with how this has come out, but I am very pleased with how this has come out. I decided halfway through that it did look a bit too squat, so I've decided to add a midsection piece, which actually makes sense because there is one of those on the actual model that I neglected, on the actual design that I neglected to add in. So overall, it's basically just your standard classic Dalek base with it. This is a base that is from a special weapons Dalek because it's got the extra ridge, but you could do it with a normal base if you wanted to. And then obviously the dome is a half size, half of a plastic bauble. That's the word I was looking for that I get off eBay. And then these are just made, everything else is basically just made up of card and things like that. I've added on some silver dots underneath to denote the sort of lights that would be there. Unfortunately, it was too small to craft those in, so that's why I've decided to just add them in as dots. It would have been nice if I could have actually crafted them in, but I tried to do some test pieces and they just didn't work. It was too small. But overall, I'm very pleased with how it's come out. So if I compare it to the one that obviously everyone knows, you can see it's a little bit shorter and a little bit stumpier, but that's, I think, part and parcel of the design, really. And obviously this version is much more white than that version, but that was just the paint, the paint that I had. But overall, I'm actually very pleased with how it's come out. It looks very good, and if I bring it in to compare it to my audio series Emperor, again, you can see that just as a sort of Emperor design, it's something that's very similar but also quite different. So I'm obviously very pleased with the sort of difference of the design. But yeah, it's come out very well. It's a great custom to try if you want to do an Emperor. And this is actually, I have to say, this is obviously quite a lot more intricate doing these underpieces, but generally it's actually an easier way of doing it, because with doing the custom Emperors such as this one, obviously you've got to trim. I had to trim down a sphere, and I went through quite a few because they are very brittle and they snap very easily. So if anything, this is an easier way of doing it because you haven't got to do that. I'm very pleased with how it's come out. I've also, the other thing that people might notice is the eye is blue on this. Now the reason that I've gone for that, opposed to the original one being clear, obviously, but it's got the black lining as well. The reason that I went for this is it just was a bit more akin to the eye stalks of the Imperial, and I just wanted something that would just make it look a little bit different, and a little bit just different to the Emperor that we know, and I think it works quite well. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share. It really helps me out a lot, and I will see you all with another video very soon.